Hello everyone, this is Ellie from the World Tour. I'm going to be doing an introductory video for my first 3 months in Australia. I'm going to be talking about some do's, some don'ts, and just some general advice about when you first get here. So let's go! So first I'm going to be talking about the things that we did right when we first got here. So number one was finding a place to stay and a place to work. You might have heard before of HelpX or Workaway, which are websites to find host families where you can stay in places for free, either in a spare room, you could stay in a motel, you could stay in a farm stay. So what we did before we got to Australia was we went on HelpX, we found a host family, which was this lady who had a spare room just outside of Melbourne, and we were able to chat with her, get to know her a little bit, and then we decided to stay with her, and she said that she could help us to find some work in the local area. So this way we were staying in somewhere for free to save some money, we were able to make a few connections, and we were able to find work. So that was really, really useful. So I do recommend looking at HelpX and Workaway when you get here. Second thing we did that was really useful was to get a SIM card straight from the airport. Now, when you first get to a new country, you don't have any contacts, you have no way of finding your way around. So the best thing to do is get a SIM card from the airport. You can buy annual plans that give you a big bunch of data, which are cheaper in the long run if you're going to be staying here for a year. And that's what we decided to do, and that's worked out well for us. Third thing that's really major is you need to get a TFN number, and you need to get your bank account set up in the first few weeks. Now, setting up a bank account in Australia is really, really easy. You just need to go into your local branch. They may need to give you an appointment so you can come back the next day, or maybe even go in the same day, and they set it all up for you. You'll need to have a local address that you're staying at. And you'll need to have documentation like passports and things like that. Make sure that you set that up within the first few weeks, because if you're going to be looking for work in the first few weeks, you really need to have a bank account, otherwise they can't pay you, right? Once you get your bank card, you can apply for your TFN number, and that should also take a week. So yeah, you're looking at the first few weeks and when you get here of setting that up. Once you've got that, you're on track to start working, start making some money. Now, the last thing I want to mention that we did well was buying a car in the first few weeks. I think it was the first month we got our car. Now, we weren't planning on doing this because we wanted to save a bit of money before we, stepped into buying something so big. But buying a car in Australia is really important because it's such a big country and there are so many opportunities and places to visit that if you don't have a car, it's kind of hard to get around. If you spend your first few months in a city, it might be alright. I've met some people working on a cherry farm around here, and it's really hard for them to have some freedom to be able to get to work without asking for a ride every day, and just to be able to explore the area and get to new work if you need it. So it's really important that you think about getting a car as soon as you get here. If you can't and you need to save some money first, that's all okay, but just bear in mind that transport out here is difficult if you don't have a car. I'm probably going to make a completely separate video about getting a car in Australia and all the things that you should be looking out for when you're buying your first car, because it's such a big subject. So look out for that one. So now we get to the point when we're talking about things that we did wrong, things that we should have known before we got here. So the first thing was about staying in your first place a little bit longer. We plan to work in this farm that we're currently working in within 6 weeks of us arriving in Australia. Now, the problem with that is that you only have 6 weeks to settle, to figure out the next move, to find some work and save some money. So 6 weeks really isn't long enough. So the best thing to do is decide where you're going to stay in the first few months and look at finding a job that you're going to be happy with before you get here. Second thing I want to talk about is HelpX again. So remember when I was talking about HelpX and we stayed with this house host and it was really great and beneficial? We had some difficulty with our house host, which meant that it was difficult to find somewhere else to stay because we didn't know the area very well, and also it was just kind of stressful living with someone that you don't really get along with, right? So the best thing to do when you decide you're going to use HelpX or you're going to use Workaway is to do thorough research on the person that you're going to be staying with, like look them up on social media. You can even chat with them on HelpX. Send them a few messages, send them a few emails, just get to know each other and get a good sense of each other before you start to make that step of staying with them. So the next thing is finding work. So going back to HelpX on this house host again, this person offered us work that we could get in the local area before we arrived in Australia. And when we finally arrived here, we realized that a lot of this wasn't true. There were places that didn't really need us to work and we were sort of empty-handed. So what's really important when you first get here is to join some Facebook group, look up seek.com, just find some jobs vacancies in the area that you are generally going to be staying, that you know that you could probably find work in, and start applying as soon as you get here and you'll find work. So that's it for my first video in Australia. I hope you liked it. I'm going to keep on making videos, making fresh content every few weeks, every month. So please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and keep traveling with me. Alright, see you next time. Bye!